The galaxy was old, so old that many stars had already lived and died while empires remained the same. Power belonged to those who had ruled for thousands of years. Their fleets were massive, their weapons could burn planets, their names were written into history as permanent truths. Wars were not rare in the galaxy, but they followed a rule. Only the strong fought wars. The weak survived by hiding, trading, or obeying. Humans did not fit anywhere in this rule. Humanity was young compared to the ancient empires. Their territory was small, their fleets were limited, their technology was good, but not impressive by galactic standards. To the galaxy, humans were known as divided by politics, emotional in decisions, unstable under pressure, weak in space combat. Many alien records described humans as survivors, not rulers, a species that adapted quickly but lacked discipline, a species that argued among itself more than it fought others. When the Galactic Power War began, no one expected humans to matter. 3 ancient empires declared war on each other. Their borders collided, their pride demanded dominance. Fleets numbering in the millions clashed across star systems. Entire solar systems burned. Stars were wrapped in weapon fire, planets cracked, civilizations vanished in hours. Space itself became dangerous to travel. Smaller races panicked. They had no power to stand alone. Some chose sides quickly, hoping protection would save them. Others were forced into service. Entire species were dragged into the war as soldiers, workers, or shields. The galaxy divided itself into camps of survival. Everyone noticed who joined. Everyone noticed who begged. Everyone noticed who begged. Everyone noticed who vanished. But humans did none of these things. Humanity did not choose a side. They did not send fleets. They did not make speeches. They declared neutrality. At first, this confused the empires. Then it amused them. How can a weak species stay neutral in a war of gods? One commander laughed. Human space lay near important trade paths. Their colonies sat close to contested zones. Any strong species would rush to protect such areas. Humans did not. They pulled their fleets inward. Borders tightened. Trade slowed. Communication became minimal. To the ancient empires, this looked like fear. The Galactic War Council met inside a massive station floating above a dying star. Representatives from hundreds of races watched the war unfold on glowing displays. When the human representative appeared, the room filled with quiet laughter. He stood alone. No armed guards. No threats. No pride. An insectoid warlord spoke openly. Humans wish to stay neutral, it asked. Then let them watch history from the sidelines. Another leader, tall and armored and living metal, added cruelly, let the weak species watch history, not shape it. The council agreed. Humans were dismissed. The meeting continued without them. Then the war expanded. Supply routes stretched, fleets moved deeper, and accidents began to happen. Human trade convoys were intercepted. Colonial ships vanished. Navigation points near human systems were suddenly declared restricted. The official reports called it collateral damage. One human colony near the war zone was hit by a stray bombardment. The defending empire apologized. Another colony was destroyed by retreating fleets. Again, apologies followed. Millions of humans died. No official war declaration was made. No compensation was offered. The galaxy watched carefully. They expected humans to react. Anger. Threats. Begging at the council. Emergency broadcasts. Instead, something strange happened. Human space went quiet. Not just quiet. Silent. Civilian channels stopped transmitting. Trade signals vanished. Military scans showed human fleets pulling back into deep space facilities. Even human media networks went dark. At first, the galaxy believed this was collapse. Humans are breaking, some said. They cannot handle loss, others agreed. But intelligence officers noticed something unsettling. There was no chaos, no refugee waves, no distress calls. Human worlds were orderly. Too orderly. The silence was controlled. Inside human territory, leaders met without cameras. Data flowed through secure networks older than the war itself. Systems once labeled obsolete were reactivated quietly. Humans did not scream. They did not threaten. They did not cry for justice. They counted. They measured. They remembered every ship lost, every colony burned, every apology written in cold, legal language. The war continued. The empires grew confident again. They assumed humans were afraid. They assumed silence meant surrender. No one noticed the small changes. Navigation errors near human space increased. Supply delays spread across battle lines. Communication blackouts appeared in strange patterns. Each issue was small. Each was ignored. Until commanders began asking the same question: why are humans calm? Old observers felt something deeper. Silence, they knew, could mean many things. Fear, shock, or decision. By the time the galaxy began to feel uneasy, it was already too late to ask. Humanity had not gone silent to hide. They had gone silent to choose. The galaxy thought humans were afraid. They did not realize humans were deciding. The silence from human space did not end the war. The galactic power war only grew larger. Ancient empires pushed harder, believing victory was close. Fleets clashed day and night. Star systems changed hands again and again. The war was becoming expensive, even for the powerful. Still, no one invited humans back to the council. To most of the galaxy, humanity was already finished. Inside the war command centers of the empires, analysts studied all known factions. They reviewed threats, allies, and possible future enemies. Humans were listed near the bottom. Human military strength was rated as insufficient. Human fleets were marked outdated. Human strategy was labeled reactive, not aggressive. One alien general said confidently, "Humans avoid war because they cannot survive it." Others agreed. The galaxy believed it understood humans completely. That belief was comfortable, but comfort often hides danger. While the empires fought openly, human space remained quiet. Borders were closed. Ships rarely crossed in or out. Even smugglers avoided the region. To outsiders, human systems looked inactive. But inside, humanity was moving, not loudly, not proudly, quietly. Human military commanders did not gather in large halls. They met through encrypted channels. Old commanders were recalled from retirement. Engineers reopened sealed facilities buried deep under planets and moons. These places were not secret weapons labs. They were planning vaults. Places where humanity had stored lessons instead of weapons. Human history was full of defeat. Humans had lost wars before. They had lost planets. They had lost entire fleets. And every loss had been studied. Every failure had been recorded. Humans believed one thing deeply: if you are weaker, you must be smarter. Instead of building the largest ships, humans focused on movement. Instead of stronger guns, they designed systems that could disrupt others. Instead of glory, they prepared for endurance. While the empires fought each other, human intelligence networks mapped the war carefully. They studied supply routes, fuel depots, repair stations, communication relays, not targets, pressure points. The first human action was so small that no one noticed. A fuel convoy disappeared near a battlefront. Pirates were blamed. Then another convoy arrived late. Navigation error. A repair station lost power for 12 minutes. System fault. Each problem alone meant nothing. Together, they slowed entire fleets. Commanders complained. Logistics officers argued. But the war demanded attention elsewhere. Soon, frontline fleets began running low on resources. Battles became shorter. Retreats became common. The empires blamed each other. No one blamed humans. At the Galactic War Council, frustration replaced laughter. One leader spoke angrily, "Our supply lines are cursed. Something is wrong." Another replied, "Focus on winning the war. Minor species are irrelevant." Humans were not even mentioned. Meanwhile, small races began noticing strange patterns. Some trade captains whispered that routes near human space were safer. Some refugees reported that human patrols quietly guided civilian ships away from danger. Humans did not announce help. They simply acted. A human fleet appeared once near a burning system. Not to fight, but to rescue civilians trapped between two empires. They evacuated thousands and vanished before any warship arrived. The empires dismissed it as weakness. "They save others because they cannot fight," one admiral mocked. But soldiers who saw the human ships felt uneasy. The ships moved differently. They did not rush. They did not hesitate. They behaved like they knew exactly when to appear and when to leave. Inside one empire's command center, an old strategist studied the reports carefully. He noticed something no one else cared about. Human ships were never lost. Not one. No wreckage. No distress signals. No prisoners. They appeared, acted, and vanished. He warned his superiors, "Humans are learning this war. They laughed. What can they learn without fighting? They asked. The strategist answered quietly. Everything. They asked. The strategist answered quietly. Everything. As months passed, the war reached a breaking point. Empires were exhausted. Their fleets were damaged. Their allies questioned loyalty. Smaller races began pulling away, sensing weakness. Then the first direct human strike happened. One Imperial flagship went dark. No explosion. No debris. One moment it was commanding a fleet. The next moment it was silent. Power systems failed. Weapons shut down. Communications died. Boarding teams entered later and found the crew alive but helpless. Every system had been disabled with perfect precision. The message was clear. Humans could touch the heart of the war. Panic spread through command channels. Who did this? When? How? Scans showed human technology signatures, but the ship had never detected an attack. The empires finally looked toward human space. For the first time, fear replaced laughter. Humanity had not joined the war screaming. They had entered it quietly, carefully, as underdogs. And now, the galaxy was beginning to understand a terrible truth. Humans did not fight wars to prove strength. They fought wars to end them. And the Galactic Power War had just gained its most dangerous player. The disabled flagship did not explode. That alone frightened the galaxy. In past wars, destruction was loud. Ships burned. Crews died. Victory was measured in wreckage. But this ship still floated in space, silent and powerless, like a body without a heartbeat. The empire that owned it sealed the report. They told the galaxy it was a system failure. They lied. Inside their command halls, panic spread quietly. Engineers could not explain what happened. Security officers found no sabotage teams. Weapon systems showed no damage, only perfect shutdown. Every system had failed at the same time. That was impossible, unless someone knew exactly where to touch. The war slowed. Commanders began hesitating before every move. Fleets waited for confirmation that never felt safe. Supply ships demanded escorts. Escorts demanded more fuel. The war, once fast and brutal, became heavy and uncertain. And humans were still silent. Human space did not celebrate. Human leaders did not speak. Human media stayed dark. Only their ships moved. Small human task groups appeared near war zones, never staying long. They watched battles from a distance. They scanned fleets. They vanished before being noticed. Human commanders were not chasing victories. They were mapping behavior. They studied how empires reacted under stress, which admirals panicked, which fleets followed orders without question, which allies broke first. Humans learned the war better than the empires fighting it. One empire finally decided to act. They sent a message to human space. It was polite on the surface, but sharp underneath. Humanity is requested to explain its recent actions. The message was delivered through official channels. No reply came. Days passed. Then weeks. The empire grew angry. They decided to send a warning. A small fleet moved toward a human border colony, not to attack, just to show power. The fleet never reached the colony. Navigation systems failed halfway. Communication relays shut down. Ships drifted, blind and confused. Before panic could turn into firing weapons, human ships appeared. Not a massive fleet, just enough. They did not fire. They sent a single message to every ship: turn back. The alien admiral hesitated. He demanded to know who gave the order. The human reply came calmly. You are in a war zone you do not understand. The alien fleet retreated. No shots were fired, but the message spread fast. Humans were no longer invisible. They were present. The Galactic War Council met again, this time without laughter. Screens showed disrupted battle lines. Maps were filled with warning symbols and unknown zones. One leader finally said what others feared. Humans are interfering. Another answered sharply. They are weak. They cannot fight us directly. A third voice spoke, older and slower. They are not fighting us, it said. They are shaping the war. Records were reopened. Ancient archives were searched. Old conflicts were studied. That was when a forgotten pattern appeared. In several ancient wars, human forces had been present only at the edges, never leading, never dominating. Yet every war where humans were involved ended differently, not in conquest, but in balance. An ancient note appeared in the archive written by a long-dead strategist of another species. Humans do not win by force. They win by changing the rules. The council grew uneasy. By now, smaller races were watching humans closely. Refugee ships began changing course toward human-controlled routes. Traders avoided Empire space and trusted human corridors. Human ships escorted civilians without demanding loyalty. No flags, no speeches, just protection. Trust began to shift. The empires noticed allies growing distant. They noticed fewer ships answering calls. They noticed fear not of the enemy, but of staying too close to them. One empire decided to strike directly. A large fleet jumped into a system near human space and attacked a listening station. The station was destroyed in seconds. The empire broadcast the attack proudly. "This is a warning," they declared. The galaxy waited. This time, humans responded, not with rage, not with threats. Human fleets appeared across multiple warfronts at the same moment. They did not attack planets. They did not fire at civilians. They targeted command ships. One by one, command vessels lost control. Fleets froze in confusion. Orders stopped flowing. Entire battle groups drifted without leadership. The war did not explode. It collapsed. Within hours, battles stopped across dozens of systems. Admirals could not coordinate. Generals could not give commands. Human fleets withdrew just as quietly as they arrived. The message was clear. Humans could end the war whenever they wanted. Inside human command, there was no celebration, only calm voices and steady work. Human leaders knew something the galaxy did not yet understand. Power wars always destroy those who fight them longest. Humans had waited. They had watched. They had entered only when every empire was tired, angry, and blind. The galaxy had called humans weak because they avoided war. Now it understood the truth. Humans avoided war because they knew exactly when to enter it, and the galactic power war was no longer controlled by ancient empires. It was being guided by the species everyone had ignored. The war did not end after the human strikes, but it changed forever. The ancient empires no longer moved with confidence. Fleets waited longer before jumping. Admirals questioned orders. Every command now carried doubt. Humans had done something no one thought possible. They made the war hesitate. Across the galaxy, commanders asked the same question in private channels. Where will humans appear next? No sensors could predict it. No pattern was clear. Human fleets did not follow normal war logic. They did not defend territory. They did not chase enemies. They appeared only where pressure mattered most, and that frightened everyone. Inside one empire's capital, leaders gathered in a chamber carved from living crystal. They stared at a map filled with warning mark systems where human interference had stopped battles without firing a single shot. One leader spoke slowly. "We are losing control." Another replied angrily. "We still have more ships than humans." "Yes," the first answered, "but we no longer decide how to use them." That truth hurt more than any defeat. The empires began searching old history deeper than before. They unlocked records sealed for thousands of years. Stories once considered myths were reviewed with new eyes. That was when they found references to the quiet species. The name appeared in several ancient languages. It always described the same pattern. A young race, avoiding early wars, watching conflicts from the edges, entering late, and ending wars without ruling afterward. Every record ended with the same warning. When they arrive calmly, it is already too late. The Galactic War Council reconvened in emergency session. This time, humans were invited, not mocked, invited. A human representative appeared again, alone. No guards, no armor, no display of power. The chamber was silent. An ancient emperor spoke carefully. "Humanity has influenced this war." The human did not deny it. Another leader asked, "Are you choosing a side?" The human paused before answering. "No," he said. "We are choosing an outcome." That answer spread unease through the chamber. The empires demanded clarity. They wanted rules. They wanted limits. The human response was calm. "This war is destroying more than it creates. We will not allow it to continue." The council reacted with anger and fear. "You do not have authority," one shouted. The human replied simply, "We have capability." Talks ended without agreement. But something had changed. For the first time, the ancient empires feared a species that did not want power. Meanwhile, smaller races began openly moving toward human influence. Refugee fleets requested human escort. Neutral systems accepted human observers. Trade alliances quietly shifted. Humans never demanded loyalty. They offered stability. That was more valuable. One empire, desperate to regain control, made a final gamble. They planned a massive strike, a decisive blow meant to crush a rival empire and force humans to react openly. The fleet gathered in secret, the largest concentration of warships seen in centuries. The plan was simple: overwhelm, end the war fast. Humans knew before the first ship moved. Their intelligence networks were not faster, they were deeper. Human analysts tracked supply movements. Fuel consumption spiked, repair stations overloaded, training simulations increased. Humans saw the strike forming like a storm on the horizon. They did not rush to stop it. They waited. When the massive fleet jumped into enemy space, the battle began with full force. Stars lit up with weapon fire. Planets shook. For 1 hour, the galaxy believed the war had reached its final moment. Then human fleets arrived, not near the battle, around it. They disabled communication relays across surrounding systems. They cut off reinforcement routes. They shut down long-range sensors. The massive fleet suddenly found itself alone. No retreat, no backup, no coordination. Human ships did not attack the fleet directly. They sent one message to every ship, on every channel: cease fire, withdraw. The Empire ignored it. Human commanders waited exactly 7 minutes. Then they acted. Command ships lost control again. Weapon systems shut down selectively. Engines failed in waves. Entire formations drifted helplessly. The battle stopped not because ships were destroyed, but because they could no longer fight. The rival empire survived. The attacking empire was humiliated. Across the galaxy, fear spread openly now. Ancient empires were no longer gods of war. They were participants, and humans were the referees. Inside human space, there was no celebration. Human leaders met quietly. They knew the hardest part was coming. Ending a war was easy. Living with what came after was not. The galaxy had laughed at humans for staying neutral, then feared them for intervening. Now, it faced something worse: a calm species that had power and did not want to use it fully. The ancient empires began to understand their final mistake. They thought humans were weak because humans stayed silent. They never asked why silence felt so controlled. By the time regret replaced fear, the war no longer belonged to them. It belonged to the ones who had waited patiently while the galaxy burned. The galaxy reached a moment it had never faced before. The war was still burning in many systems, but no one truly controlled it anymore. Ancient empires issued commands, yet fleets hesitated. Allies waited before responding. Even soldiers felt the change. The war no longer felt unstoppable. It felt managed, and that terrified the powerful. The empire that had been humiliated by the failed massive strike was furious. Its leaders gathered in anger, not fear. Pride had ruled them for thousands of years, and pride does not retreat easily. One voice shouted in their council chamber, "Humans think they decide the fate of the galaxy now." Another answered, "Then we remind them who built this galaxy." They chose open defiance. The Empire sent a broadcast across known space. The message was loud and proud. They accused humans of manipulation. They accused humans of cowardice. They declared that no young species would control ancient power. Then they did something unforgivable. They attacked a neutral system, not a military target, a refuge world. Millions of civilians live there, multiple species, families fleeing the war. The Empire believed humans would hesitate to respond openly. They were wrong. For the first time since entering the war, humans did not stay in the shadows. Human fleets appeared openly across the galaxy, not hidden, not silent, visible. Every major system saw them, but even now, they did not attack planets. They did not fire at cities. They targeted something far more important: control. Human fleets struck command centers, data hubs, and fleet coordination nodes across the defiant Empire's territory. Systems went offline faster than crews could react. Defense grids shut down. Early warning systems failed. Supply depots locked themselves. The Empire's military did not collapse in fire. It collapsed in confusion. Orders stopped flowing. Admirals could not speak to generals. Fleets waited for commands that never came. The Empire realized too late what humans were doing. Humans were not punishing them. They were removing their ability to continue the war. At the same time, humans released information, not threats, truth. They broadcast hidden war records to the galaxy, evidence showing how ancient empires had manipulated smaller races, proof of forced alliances, records of destroyed civilian systems labeled as strategic losses. The galaxy watched in shock. Smaller races felt anger. Soldiers felt betrayal. The moral ground shifted. Other empires saw what was happening and froze. They stopped moving fleets. They shut down offensive operations. No one wanted to be next. The defiant empire sent an urgent request to the Galactic War Council. They demanded emergency talks. Humans agreed. The council gathered again, but this time the room felt different. No laughter. No pride. Only exhaustion and fear. The human representative spoke calmly. "This war has gone far enough." An emperor replied bitterly, "You act like judges." The human answered, "No. Judges punish. We are ending damage." Another leader asked quietly, "What do you want?" The human paused. Then he said words that echoed across the chamber. "We want the war to stop, not so humans can rule but so the galaxy can survive." The empires argued. They demanded conditions: territory, control, revenge. Humans refused them all. "You will return borders to pre-war lines," the human said. "You will release all forced allies. You will allow neutral protection corridors. And if we refuse," one emperor asked. The human did not threaten. He simply replied, "Then we will continue removing your ability to fight." Silence followed. The truth was clear. Humans did not need to destroy fleets. They had already proven they could turn wars off. One by one, empires agreed. Ceasefires spread across the galaxy. Fleets powered down weapons. Repair ships replaced attack vessels. Refugee routes reopened under human escort. The war did not end with victory celebrations. It ended with relief. Across thousands of worlds, beings looked up at their skies and realized something rare. They were safe. Human fleets did not stay. Once the ceasefire was stable, humans began pulling back. They dismantled temporary control systems. They shut down intervention networks. The galaxy watched nervously. Why would a species with such power step away? An ancient observer answered the question quietly, because they never wanted power. They wanted an end. In human space, leaders met one final time. They reviewed losses. They remembered the colonies destroyed, the millions who never returned. Some wanted justice. Some wanted punishment. Humanity chose restraint. They knew the galaxy would remember who stopped the war, not who won it. The ancient empires were forever changed. They still ruled but carefully. They no longer laughed at silence. They no longer underestimated calm. They learned a lesson no fleet could teach. Power is loud. Control is quiet. And humans were masters of quiet. The Galactic Power War did not end because someone was conquered. It ended because the species once called weak refused to let the galaxy destroy itself. And for the first time in history, humanity was no longer ignored. They were respected, not as warriors, but as the final limit of war. The war was over, not slowly, not with celebration, but with a deep, heavy silence. Across the galaxy, fleets returned home, weapons powered down, borders stabilized. Worlds that had burned for years finally slept without alarms. For many species, it felt unreal. They had grown used to fear. Now there was space to breathe. Human fleets moved through former war zones one last time, not as soldiers, but as watchers. They escorted refugees home. They reopened trade paths. They helped repair damaged stations. They did not stay. Once stability returned, human ships withdrew, system by system, quietly. That confused the galaxy more than anything else. Ancient empires met again, not to fight but to talk. Their councils were smaller now. Louder voices had been replaced by careful ones. Pride still existed, but it was wounded. They spoke about humans when they thought no one listened. "Why did they leave?" one ruler asked. "They could control everything," said another. "They chose not to," an elder replied. Old historians began rewriting records. They removed the word weak from human files. They replaced it with something more accurate: restrained. Across smaller worlds, humans were spoken of with quiet respect, not as conquerors, not as saviors, as limits. Parents told children stories. When the galaxy burned, humans stopped the fire. In human space, there were no parades, no statues, no victory speeches. Human leaders met privately to discuss losses. They named the destroyed colonies. They remembered the millions who died when the war first spilled into their space. Silence filled the room. Humanity had not entered the war to win. They had entered because doing nothing would cost more lives. Some questioned the decision. Did we show too much? One leader asked. Did we reveal ourselves too soon? Another wondered. An older commander answered calmly. The galaxy was already watching. We just taught them what watching really means. Human military systems returned to standby. Intervention networks were shut down. Hidden fleets dispersed, but not dismantled. Humanity did not forget. They simply stepped back. Years passed. The galaxy changed. Wars still existed, but they were smaller, shorter, carefully contained. No empire rushed blindly into destruction anymore, because somewhere in the back of every leader's mind lived a quiet thought: if we go too far, humans may return. That thought saved countless worlds. A new council rule was written, simple and clear. Total war is forbidden. No empire argued. No one laughed. Humans were invited to sit permanently on the Galactic Council. They declined. Instead, they sent observers, listeners. When asked why, a human diplomat explained, power should never be comfortable. The answer unsettled the council, but they accepted it. Long after the war, a young alien historian asked an ancient elder a question. Why did humans wait so long before acting? The elder answered slowly, because humans understand something most species do not. What? The historian asked. That the strongest choice is knowing when not to fight, and when to end a fight others cannot stop. The historian recorded the words carefully. Centuries later, those words would still be taught. The galactic power war faded into history, but its lesson did not. The galaxy had once believed humans were weak because they avoided war. Now it understood the truth. Humans avoided war because they knew exactly how terrible it was. They did not seek control. They did not seek glory. They sought balance. And when balance broke, they acted. Not loudly, not proudly, but decisively. In the deepest archives of the galaxy, one final line was added to human records. It was written by many hands from many species. It read, humans wandered into a galactic power war as underdogs. They did not win it. They ended it, and the galaxy survived because of that. Far from the council halls and war zones, a human ship drifted through quiet space. Its crew watched stars pass in silence. The war was over, but humanity remained ready, because humans knew something the galaxy was still learning. Peace is not permanent. It is protected. And when the galaxy forgets that lesson, humans will be watching.